The Pittsburgh Pirates took game one against the Washington Nationals at PNC Park last night 10-3, and they did it with an impressive runners and scoring position performance. How good? Well, stick around because that's next on Locked On Pirates.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Pirates your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. It's a big win. Great start to the homestand, everybody. I mean, lots of offense. The biggest story really in this game was runners in scoring position. It has been a pain point for the Pittsburgh Pirates for years now. Last night, they went 8 for 9 with runners in scoring position en route to their 10-3 victory. I just want to point out something here that I think is instructive in a game like this. And really this early in the season, when you start focusing on things like batting averages and on base percentage, and you're talking about people with 40 at bats or 50 at bats at most, I just want you to understand how one really good performance changes things drastically. So let's look at runners in scoring position. 8 for 9 last night wasn't just good. That's historically good. That's not something that happens every season to every team. It's not something you should expect is going to happen again for the Pittsburgh Pirates. It's not something that's really easily achievable. It's rare. It's also rare to win 10-3 and not have a home run in the game, 8 for 9 with runners in scoring position, like I said. Just yesterday, they were in 14th place with 250 was their batting average with runners in scoring position. I wrote about this in 5 Thoughts on Steel City Pirates, and I was talking about the historically bad nature of their offense and how I was kind of surprised that out of all the figures that I listed that they were terrible at, runners in scoring position, somehow they were in the middle of the pack. Because that hasn't been the feeling, right? That said, they just haven't had a lot of guys in scoring position. Well, just yesterday's performance raised them up from 250 all the way to 297. Good for first in the league. That's right. The Pittsburgh Pirates right now are the best hitting team in the league with runners in scoring position. That's how much one game can change things when you're talking about such small numbers. Need another example because maybe I'm crazy? How about team batting average is up 15 points after yesterday? They're still under 200, which speaks to how terrible they were, but they've raised it all the way from 184 up to 199. One game. So I guess when you're looking at averages and things like that early in the season, do keep that in mind. It sucks to see a lineup built and you look down through it and you see, everybody's batting 125 or 178 or whatever, and you get through the list and it just looks like, oh my God, this is so pathetic. Yeah, you should keep in mind that a 3 for 4 performance at that stage when you've only got 45 at bats or whatever, it's going to raise your average significantly. Whereas if you go 3 for 4 in August and you're hitting 200 with 250 at bats or whatever, 300 at bats, it's not going to go up or down all that much. You're talking a percentage point here or there. So early season, I understand why they get brought up. I understand why they get talked about. I talk about them. But you really should kind of keep some kind of a in the back of your head that this maybe isn't quite so real. So let's talk about some of the insane performances from yesterday, because we we kind of got treated to a whole lot that we hadn't seen so far, which is basically just guys continuing to come up and do good things. I think it was important to see O'Neal Cruz leading off last night. I had suggested that as a possibility, but I wasn't sure that we'd actually see them go through with it. They did it. They moved O'Neal Cruz to the leadoff spot. They put Brian Reynolds at second. They used Andrew McCutchen third. I would imagine when Joey Bart's back, which sounds like it's going to be today, and we'll get into some reasons why that's important here beyond just getting Joey Bart back as we get further into the show. But it sounds to me like they're going to stick with this for a minute. And I think it makes sense because O'Neal Cruz has really been struggling to see pitches. Batting after Brian Reynolds, who's been struggling too. When Brian Reynolds would get on base, well, there was nothing to protect O'Neal Cruz. And right now, oddly enough, Andrew McCutchen might be the best hitter on the team. He's really, really hitting the ball hard when he does, and he's walking a lot. Really got to get this DH situation solved with Brian Reynolds so that you can get Andrew McCutchen's bat in the lineup a lot more consistently. Adam Frazier had 2 hits. Ke'Bryan Hayes had 2 hits. And Manuel Valdez batted cleanup. Everyone freaked out about him batting cleanup, including me. I mean, I didn't understand that. All he did is get on base 4 times and drive in 3 runs. So, but he had 2 hits as well. Andrew McCutchen with 2 hits. Brian Reynolds, O'Neal Cruz. It was an all-out assault. Andrew McCutchen was on base 3 times, the walk and a hit, or 2 walks and a hit. Ke'Bryan Hayes, really big hit, really important hit. Same with Valdez. They really opened the game up. Brian Reynolds came through big with a nice 2 RBI effort. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa continues to hit. They don't want to use him at leadoff, it seems. Like, I think they really like him in the 9 hole for turning over the lineup. And honestly, if they're going to bat O'Neal Cruz leadoff, I don't hate it either. I kind of like it. So, I mean, we'll see how that goes. Adam Frazier continues to get time, and he had a couple hits last night to his credit. Again, we talk about batting average. He's been terrible. Those couple hits will bump him up a lot more than they would late in the season. And Henry Davis got into this game late because guess what? The Pirates have another injury. Andy Rodriguez. Let's take a quick break and come back and talk about what exactly happened this time. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. From 3-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Hey, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button. It helps me. We have grown this channel since I've been here by over 100 subscribers. Let's keep it going. It's really, really good for me. It's really, really good for the network. And it just helps me realize that I'm being noticed, and that's good. And we'll keep doing this. And hopefully we can just keep growing this network into something that becomes a behemoth in the region, huh? So the Pirates are struggling offensively all year. One game does not change that, especially against a bullpen, which is pretty much what they faced. Lord was, let's call him like Carmen Majinski style. starter. He's done it before. You wouldn't call him a starter. He's really more of a bullpen guy, but and when you start him, you expect you're going to have basically a bullpen game. Well, that's what the Washington Nationals did, and that's what they got. Pretty much a bullpen game. Early on in this game, second batter, Paul Skenes throws a ball in the dirt, hits the foot of the hitter, bounces awkwardly towards Andy Rodriguez, and hits his exposed hand that was sitting on his leg like so many catchers do nowadays, and lacerated his finger. Looks like he's going to end up on the IL. Had 4 stitches in his finger. Sounds like something that you could play through, but they've got enough guys that are on the bench in certain various stages of nicked up, and having Henry Davis up here, you could do worse for the replacement, right? Henry Davis did get a hit last night, but the most important thing Henry Davis did was come in and kind of seamlessly jump in with Paul Skenes. Paul he pretty much calls his own games, but for whatever reason, last night he decided to let Henry call a lot of his pitches. I haven't seen that very often, honestly. Yeah, I saw him correct him a few times or push him in a different direction, call his own here and there, but for the most part, once he got into a groove, he kind of just stood back and let Henry call the game. Now, Henry used an awful lot of change-ups for Paul, and I think it ran his pitch count up a little bit, but it was very effective. Kept everybody off of everything he had. We'll talk more about Paul specifically in that last one, but something really cool happened too here that we got to discuss, and that's Henry and Paul. They were the first ever, and I mean, like, anytime you say anything like that in baseball, anytime you say the first time ever in baseball, it's kind of crazy because of the history of this game and how long it's been going on. When you see something that's never happened before, that might be my favorite thing about baseball. No matter how long the game has gone on, every year you're going to see something you've never seen before. Well, Cruz and Henry represent the first ever 1-1 battery in Major League Baseball, which is really cool. Whether you think Henry should have been in 1-1 or not, doesn't matter. It was a cool experience to see. The other little niche thing I wanted to talk about before we get into individual performances that I thought mattered the most. Dylan Cruz, 0 for 4 against Paul Skenes. I think this is a matchup we probably would have built up a heck of a lot more last year. But Dylan Cruz has really struggled. And I think back to when that draft pick was made for Paul Skenes, and we think of it as such a no-brainer now. But I think we think of it that way because of how these two players have performed since the draft. Paul Skenes obviously doing things that guys don't do the year after they're drafted, like starting in the All-Star game, being a finalist in the Cy Young, and he's kind of just kept it right along rolling. Well, Dylan Cruz has struggled to get his sea legs with Washington, and he's shown some promise, and he is a great defender, and there's still an interesting bat in there, but it just hasn't emerged really yet. So this matchup, I think it probably got less play than watching Paul Skenes face Gunnar Henderson in spring training, or I mean, I feel like it's kind of gotten downplayed, to be honest. There was more hype for him facing Aaron Judge. When these two were drafted, I think a lot of people thought this was going to be like a Sidney Crosby, Alex Ovechkin type rivalry for years and years to come. And we'll see. It may yet develop into that, but it hasn't started out that way. Key performances, though, last night, important things that I think we saw. First, Andrew McCutchen. Andrew McCutchen played in the field again in right field. I just want to go through some of the things that Kutch does, because we talk about the leadership of this team a lot, and the Pirates talk about the leadership of this team a lot. And they brought in guys specifically to do that. Adam Frazier, Tommy Pham. They reference it all the time. Well, the real emotional leader of this team still seems to be Andrew McCutchen, no matter how hard they want to try to replace him. So Andrew McCutchen shows up at the ballpark, and he's got these like old necklaces that the guys used to wear 10 years ago, like back when they went to the playoffs in the middle of the last decade. And he brought them for everybody. And he didn't walk around explaining everything or what was going to happen. He just said, put them on, see what happens. And after the game, he's interviewed, and they're basically like, what did you tell the guys about these necklaces that everyone's wearing? He goes, I told them, put them on, see what happens. And they saw what happened. So now we're going to rock with it for a while. You got to love that sort of stuff, man, in baseball. These necklaces are going to be a thing now. I think it's interesting and fun. I love when they come up with something like that the team can kind of come around. They need something like that. It's been a really, really rough start to the season. Kutch just always seems to know when to break that stuff up. The other thing cool he did in right field, though, he makes a diving catch. I'm not going to tell you it was a spectacular diving catch, but it was a diving catch. And you see a 38-year-old diving in the outfield, you make a big deal out of it, right? Because what's he doing? He doesn't have to do that anymore. He doesn't have to prove that to anyone. Well, after he makes the catch, he gets up, he throws the ball. He just points to the gold patch on his glove and looks directly at Oneil Cruz. And, Oneil Cruz kind of acknowledges it and everything. Andrew was asked about that too afterwards. Said, why did you point to your gold glove? And he goes, were you just trying to remind everybody that you can do this? And he goes, no, I was just trying to remind one person, Oneil Cruz. If he wants one, that's what he's got to do. Watch me. I love that. I love it. Oneil Cruz needs somebody to take him under their wing, and he needs it to be somebody with a big personality. That's Andrew McCutchen. I don't think he has the legs to stay out there and play an awful lot, but I love seeing the little bit that he is playing out there, the impact that it could be starting to have on Oneil Cruz. Now, I say that even as the very next play, Oneil Cruz made an error, stretched a single into a double. But I digress. I still think it was important for him to see. And I do think those kind of messages do get across to people. I think when you see somebody like Andrew McCutchen diving still at his age, or running down a ball in the gap still at his age, or running out a ground ball still at his age, or trying to steal a base still at his age, still loving Pittsburgh after all the years he's played here and elsewhere, wanting to do it here. Every message that Kutch delivers every day is one that this team has to have. He's the best ambassador in that room. He's probably the best ambassador for this team. I can honestly say this organization doesn't deserve what Andrew McCutchen has become. Andrew McCutchen has taken it upon himself to be Mr. Pittsburgh, Mr. Pittsburgh Pirates. And he's the face until he's not. And he's the emotional leader until he's not. We can keep wanting to push him out the door because of his age, and I understand that his time will come. But right now, for what they have him doing, and maybe it's because he can't play as much with Reynolds being, taking the DH spot, Andrew McCutchen has no doubt been one of the better players on this team. He looks younger and sprier than he did most of last year, where he got injured very early on. And if he can keep it like this, it's going to be hard to convince him to retire after this year. So let's see how it plays out, but it's been good. Now let's dig in on Paul Skenes for the last segment, should we? Because it's fun when you win 10-3, but it's easy to kind of lose in that a great performance from a pitcher. Frankly, because they didn't need it as badly tonight. Basketball and hockey playoffs are heating up, and there's no better way to turn your sports knowledge into real rewards time than with Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. With Prize Picks, you simply pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and you're in. You can even combine players across sports, basketball, hockey, baseball, and more for your chance to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Here's what I'd be picking this week: Connor McDavid for more than 1 goal and Austin Matthews for more than 5 shots on goal. Seems like a pretty safe one to me. What I love is how easy it is to set your lineup in under 60 seconds. Prize Picks even runs cool promos like Taco Tuesday, where they discount player projections up to 25% for even more value, and payouts are fast, safe, and secure. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. All right, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Paul Skenes was pretty incredible. Bounce back performance from his outing in against the Cardinals, which didn't go as well. I mean, let's just call it what it was: the worst performance of his career. and and when I say that, I mean like a performance that a lot of pitchers would take, pretty happily. So 6 innings pitched, 1 earned run. Couple hiccups in there. Couple things I think we need to maybe start watching out for. A couple things that just are interesting. First, 2 errors on Paul Skenes, and they were on pickoff attempts. It's really hard to blame the first baseman versus the pitcher. If you slow it down, okay, I can almost always blame the first baseman. If the ball was even in the vicinity of first base, you have to think the first baseman should get it. I happen to feel that a more experienced first baseman than Manuel Valdez probably fields both of those balls. But with Paul Skenes, it's not a normal pickoff. He's not just tossing a ball over there for attention. Paul Skenes is trying to get them. And when he throws those pickoffs, he doesn't throw them like chest high so that you come down with a big sweeping tag. He throws them right where he thinks you can get that tag. It's right at the guy's legs. It's right where his hand might be. It's right where the first baseman should be able to catch it and tag almost all in one motion. And it works really well. He's prolific at it. He does a great job of picking guys off. Problem is, if you don't have a first baseman that can field it, or the throw isn't 100% perfect, well, Skenes is throwing it over there like 89, 90 miles an hour. This isn't like a normal pickoff, right? So if it misses the first baseman at PNC Park in particular, the way that side of the field is built, that ball is going to go for a minute. And that's exactly what happened. We had a couple guys wind up all the way at third base because of that. On a night when the Pirates produce less, that could have been very costly. So that's something they're going to have to think about from 2 perspectives. One, do you want Paul maybe being that aggressive with trying to get the pickoffs, or do you want him to just focus on the batter, especially since he has the kind of stuff that probably means you don't have to worry about it as much? Or do you need to make sure that you have a more capable first baseman over there? I think that would be glorious in the first place. I'm just not 100% sure they've got that until Spencer Horwitz comes along, especially now with Endy being hurt, because um, I guess this wouldn't really affect it because when Endy wasn't hurt, he was catching for Paul all the time. So, which I understand why, because throwing to Joey Bart's no treat, at least as far as Paul Skenes goes. Yeah, pickoff moves, big thing. Paul introduced a couple new things, a new wrinkle or two that I thought were interesting. First, he featured his changeup quite a bit. Some of that I think was Henry. Some of that I think was Paul really, really liked the way his changeup was coming out of his hand. And it did have disgusting movement. It looked a lot like the Splinker, but a lot slower. The movement is much more horizontal than it is vertical, which is weird for a changeup. It kind of just wants to spin towards the arm side, which is neat, different, especially to lefties. It looks like it's going to come in, and it never does. And he got some awkward swings with that. Really, really good stuff there. He threw one pitch that I thought just blew my mind. It was an 82-mile-an-hour sweeper with 20 inches of horizontal break. I don't even understand how the physics of that work. I just don't. I really don't. 20 inches is just a ridiculous break. And that speed difference, to be able to throw that sweeper 82 miles an hour, because he can throw that sweeper anywhere from 80 to 95, and he can get different things out of it. In fact, if he throws it 95, StatCast probably confuses it with a cutter more often than a sweeper, even though the movement is still insane. Yeah, special pitcher. It's hard to even break him down. It's more just every time out, Paul Skenes could be a different pitcher. You don't know what you're going to see. One day he could look like Roger Clemens. The next day he could look like Zach Greinke. It's whatever he wants to be based on the lineup that he sees and what he thinks they can get done. It's basically like a karate master sizing up an opponent, understanding all the moves that they could bring, and then building a perfect battle plan for them. Well, that's what Paul Skenes does. He looks at the lineup. He decides what he thinks is going to work best against certain hitters, and he models his game plan after that. I'm sure there's a little bit of what he has and doesn't have at any given day built into that, but a lot of it is Paul just playing with things, playing with pitches, trying to figure out what's going to get outs that day. I don't think he cares about slamming fastballs past people. In fact, he's not even hitting 100 unless he really, really wants to anymore. 99 seems to be his, for lack of a better way of putting it, resting bitch face when it comes to his fastball. And that's fine. You're going to get plenty of outs like that. I love where Paul Skenes is right now. I think it's a great place to be. The team in general had a wonderful performance yesterday. Enjoy it for what it is. It's one wonderful performance. This team, the Washington Nationals, they are not a whole lot better roster-wise than the Pittsburgh Pirates are, but they will pitch better than they did yesterday, and they will hit better than they did yesterday. James Wood is no joke. That kid's coming along. That kid is coming along. He's going to be something special, I think. Really, really interesting game, though. Really, really fun to watch. It's one of the first ones I can honestly say it was just fun to watch. Didn't have a lot of stress to it. We should talk a little bit about, the pitching and who finished the game out besides Paul, though. Justin Lawrence had a clean inning. Caleb Ferguson gave up his very first run of the season, and he's been untouchable this whole year. He didn't let it get out of control, though, which is to his credit. He finished the inning himself. Didn't get a lot of help defensively, but he got out of it. Dennis Santana closed out the game, even though there was no save opportunity there. Drama free on his part as well. Really good to see. And yeah, if you were in this Pirates lineup, you did something for the most part. Everybody was on base, everybody helped out, everybody contributed in some way, shape, or form. And while it doesn't change the overall look of the offense, it sure does change the outlook on how we enter tonight's game. Mitch Keller takes the mound for the Pirates, and it's going to turn bitterly cold before game time tonight. So we're going to go from a beautiful night for baseball last night to right back to frigid temperatures tonight. Let's hope the bats don't cool off with the temperature, and see if Mitch Keller can pick up his second consecutive decent outing here and keep the Pirates on track. That's all I got for you. This was a really, really fun episode to do. I've been wondering what it might look like if I were smiling into the camera. The Pirates haven't given me much opportunity to. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Thank you for making Locked On Pirates your first listen today. For your second listen, I want you to check out the all-new MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB, on YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts.